Greetings, this is Stasia Bliss, and hey, I have not been doing a whole lot of videos for a while, but I'm going to change that a little bit up. I've been getting kind of comfortable in a new cycle for myself and a new reality for myself, and part of that includes a homeschooling program for kids. So I want to share with you all some tips, maybe some insights, some suggestions if you have children, how you can support them in this transformational time. So I've always loved to work with families and their kids. I'm always feeling super honored when I get to do that long term, like right now. And so it's really awesome for me to see, because my kids, I know them and I know like they chant with me and they stretch with me and they affirm their life, and they are intuitive about their body. But I recognize that not everybody has had the luxury of the studies that I have in my life, and I'm grateful for all the things I've immersed myself in. But my greatest desire now is to disseminate or share some of that wisdom that I went and picked up all over the world, so that it's not all crammed inside of me. The channel that it came through of this body is really like the job of this being that I am embodying, Stasia Bliss, to like figure out how with my Gemini lunar return, no, not lunar return, lunar eclipse pattern, Gemini solar or lunar eclipse pattern, that is speaking about taking bigger concepts and learning to communicate them. So that's something I'm here to learn to do. So it's part of my path, is learning how to take this information that I've studied and bring it verbally, communicate it in a way that makes more sense, or that brings and ties things together, right? So I'll just share maybe one thing today, and then we'll do more of these videos. But one interesting thing about children and all of us, when we came into this world as babies, we were 100% linked up to our life force. Our Kundalini was flowing. We had all our chakras open. Our auric field was, pristine. We could feel and sense from the greater oneness field, and that's why we, how we interact with other life at that age is very trusting, is very open-hearted, is very much a beacon of love, right? And then, so our Kundalini is moving in our body as we're young, but as we begin to be exposed to the ideas and the constructs of this reality, that begins to change things. It activates different hormones like in the pituitary gland, and begins around age 8, age 9, this shift, the Kundalini begins to settle back down a bit, and the hormones of the body are turned on. And instead of having a pure channel of Kundalini, we start to alternate like this between Ida and Pingala channels, and right brain and left brain. And what happens during that time is the onset of puberty and these erratic emotions and hormonal stresses and so forth, and acne and body odor and all these weird things, because the body suddenly becomes out of sync. Actually, this is more in Vedic wisdom what is going on. So, but if you can continue with certain practices, or you can begin certain practices, ideally between 5 and 9, but at least by 8, 9, beginning, and if you haven't, of course, catch up as you may. Certain practices help keep the Kundalini energy aligned and moving, help keep the chakras open, so the transition into adulthood may come on slower, but it'll be more regulated, more balanced. You'll be able to integrate in rather than have to be like forced in and go through this kind of traumatic place, and then have to rediscover that energy later in your life when you awaken and you try to like integrate. So one of the practices is mantra practice, and I just bring this up because I'm running the 6-month Make Mantra Your Medicine course. You can find that through my website, blissinthehouse.com. You can buy the classes one at a time, or by the month, or the whole thing. But we're at month 3 right now. If you're doing it and running it live from the spring equinox, is when we began this year, then we're learning different aspects. I think we're coming into physical health stuff. And so this will be a little bit of the information in there as well. But mantra keeps the flow of energy smooth. So there's specific mantras that keep that, like the Gayatri mantra is really good for children to learn and to chant. Seed mantras for the chakras are really helpful if they do this on a regular basis. And then certain posture series, which we'll talk about in another video, are really great for keeping the kids' life force energy flowing. Also a yoga nidra practice. All of these help the small child retain contact with their original divine genius self. That's the goal. I mean, the goal of yoga is to reunite us with our genius self, with our divine self. And, you know, the reason why many of us as adults, even if we practice yoga, don't reach that geniusness is because that we can when we're a child, is we've got so many constructs and so many thoughts and emotions piled on, and that we're working to take off, and we're not just looking through the eyes of our authentic divine nature. And it's so much easier to keep that at bay with these practices than it is to later come back in, right? It's so much easier to keep a building from falling on you than to have it fall on you and have to peel your way out of it, which is kind of what we're doing as adults, using some of these practices to get back to our divine nature. Yes, we catch little glimpses and we get great insights, but as children, they're in this place where they're already connected. These practices help you stay connected, help your pineal gland not become calcified, help you retain awareness, retain connection to the magical self. So we'll just share one of the mantras, the Gayatri mantra. So this is a very popular mantra in the world. It has a really neat and powerful story behind it, which I do tell in my mantra course, and that's available in some texts about how the Gayatri came to Earth. Really fascinating story. But what it does is it reconnects us to the music of the spheres. There's a short version of Gayatri, which I'll do for you now, and there's a little bit longer one where each name of each planetary body is ignited through sound. But the short, most popular version is Om Bhur Bhuva Svaha Om Tat Savitu Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayata. Gayatri, and the kids can learn it super simply. The kids I'm working with are just learning it in a couple of days. They're just really receptive to remembering these things. And the body series of poses that help keep things moving, all the organs and glands functioning, the spine optimally stretched. All of this is part of the series, which we'll talk about next time that we tune in on the children and Kundalini. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Kundalini is my specialty. That's my area of expertise and study. That's what I really support people in, is a Kundalini awakening, which we're popping like popcorn all over the world right now, having awakening, especially since the whole pandemic thing. That's really triggered a grand awakening, a great awakening. But we can't just awaken. We have to deal with the repercussions of that. We have to understand the process because it is biological, so that we can support one another through it, so we can put on new lenses to see the new world instead of using the old lenses to interpret these manifestations or these expressions, because it can just look like a lot of chaos. It can look like a lot of psychotic episodes. It can look like a lot of things. I'm talking about the adults now. So it's important as communities, as we come together, I believe, to really know what these processes look like, how to teach this to our children to avoid the erratic reemergence of life force, to just keep it intact. But if we are working with our adult peers, to start to learn more about your Kundalini, more about life force, more about the spiritual mechanics of the body and what this awakening looks like in everyday life. It's so important that we know this, that we can support each other in this in a holy, sacred, honoring container. Okay, thank you for joining me today. Blessings.